The wind was dry and full of dust. It moved across the burned ground of Cairo 7, once a growing human colony. Now, only broken buildings and empty streets remained. Smoke still rose from old fires, but no one came to put them out. No rescue ships. No help. Nothing. Captain Lyra stood at the edge of a hill, looking over what was left. Her boots were cracked. Her uniform had long lost its color. Her hands shook slightly, but not from fear, just from hunger and too little sleep. She held a small radio in one hand, pressing it close to her ear. It only made static. 3 years. That's how long it had been since the enemy came. No one knew their name. They arrived in silence, dropped fire from the sky, then vanished. They didn't land. They didn't speak. They just destroyed and left. Most of the colony died in the first attack. The survivors hid underground, waited, and hoped, but nothing came. Earth was silent. Other colonies were gone too. At night, they would all gather under the broken dome and look up. The stars looked peaceful, cold, beautiful, but they gave no answers. Lyra's daughter, Mina, would sit near the fire and draw pictures in the dirt, big human ships with flags firing bright. Weapons at the black sky. She still believed Earth would come. The adults were not so sure. Each day, food became harder to find. Water had to be cleaned carefully. The underground systems were failing. The air scrubbers were working slower now. They all heard the coughing, but still they waited. One morning, Lyra heard a sound she hadn't heard in over a year. It was soft, strange, faint. She almost didn't believe it. A signal, not a voice, not a message. Just a pattern, a short repeating pulse. It came through the static like a heartbeat. One of the techs, Runo, picked it up while checking old systems in the ruined cum tower. He ran through the camp shouting, "It's something. Something's out there." Everyone gathered. They listened. The pulse repeated every 10 seconds, like a countdown. Or a warning. Runo tried to trace it. "It's not from orbit," he said. "It's close. On the surface, maybe 5 kilometers north." Lyra didn't waste time. She picked 5 volunteers and packed light. They left before sunrise. The sky was still dark, and the air smelled like ash. They moved through broken streets and old buildings, weapons ready, eyes scanning the shadows. Nothing moved. The planet was too quiet now. As they walked, Lyra thought about the last message Earth had sent them. It had come just days before the attack, it said. "Fleet en route. Hold position." Then the sky had exploded. Was the fleet destroyed? Lost? Or had Earth just stopped caring? She didn't know. The signal grew stronger as they moved. Runo kept checking his device. "It's right ahead," he said. "It's maybe underground." They reached a broken station, a small pre-colony outpost, long forgotten. The doors were buried. Under dust, metal pieces were twisted, half melted. They cleared the entrance and climbed down. The inside was dark, cold. They used flashlights. Dust floated in the air like dead stars. In the center of the room, half buried under metal and rock, was a black object, smooth, silent. It looked out of place to clean. It's modern. It pulsed softly with blue light. They dug it out. It was the size of a helmet. No buttons. No screen. Just a thin crack on top. Runo touched it. It came alive. A small projection floated above it. A hologram, flickering broken text appeared in the air. "Protocol 17A, stand by, help inbound." The message repeated over and over. Then it stopped. The light turned red. A new signal appeared on Runo's scanner. This one wasn't human. Lyra raised her weapon. "Back to camp," she said. Now they ran. And behind them, the red glow faded into the dark. Back at camp, people waited in silence. Lyra showed them the message. Some cried. Some didn't believe. One man laughed bitterly. 3 years late, he said. Great timing. But others felt something they hadn't felt in a long time. Hope that night the stars above looked different. Something was moving. Far away. Shape passed in front of the moons. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a cloud. The stars behind it vanished. One by one, Lyra stood outside the dome with binoculars. She stared at the thing in the sky. It didn't glow. It didn't make sound, but it moved with purpose. And it was huge. She turned to Runo. How big is that? Runo's face was pale. Big enough to block light. That's planetary size. No one spoke. The old miners called it the Shadow Eater. They whispered it in their tents. They said it wasn't a ship, it was alive. A child asked, "Is that Earth's fleet?" No one answered. The next day, another signal came. This time it wasn't a pulse. It was a voice. Garbled, glitchy, robotic. But they heard words. Prepare. 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 It repeated for 2 hours. Lyra listened carefully. That's not Earth. Could it be them? Runo asked. I don't know, she said. But it's coming this way. They watched the sky every night after that. The stars vanished faster now, one by one, like candles blown out. The shadow was moving closer. Some people wanted to run. But where? There was nowhere safe. Lyra gathered the survivors. We stay together. We stay ready. If Earth comes, we're here. If the enemy comes, we fight. Someone laughed. With what? Sticks and stones? She didn't answer. Mina, her daughter, walked up and held her hand. Earth will come, she said quietly. You said so? Lyra didn't reply. She just nodded. Later that night, the black device lit up again. The red light turned blue. The hologram returned. Final beacon detected. Gate opening. Confirm Earth's identity. Runo gasped. It's opening something. A gate. Then the signal shifted. Loud static. A burst of strange code. Then finally, a new voice. It was tired, scratched, weak, but clear. A human voice. This is Scout Ship Ardent Star. Cairo 7, do you copy? Lyra grabbed the radio. We copy. We're here. We're alive. The voice came again, slower this time. Hold position. Gate stable. Help is coming. Mina started crying. Some dropped to their knees. For the first time in 3 years, they knew Earth had not forgotten them. But as the signal ended, something else appeared in the sky. From behind the great shadow, lights dot thousands, not stars, ships, not human, Runo whispered. They're calling reinforcements. Lyra looked at the sky. She knew Earth was coming. But now, the real war was just beginning. The camp was alive again, but not with joy, with fear. The voice from the scout ship gave them hope, but the lights in the sky brought something else. The lights weren't stars, they were ships, and they were not. Human Captain Lyra stood on top of the broken dome, holding her binoculars tight. She could see them now, hundreds, maybe thousands of moving shapes above the clouds. Long, black, silent ships. They had no markings, no sound, just slow, steady movement. Like insects crawling in space. She felt cold even though the night air was warm. Runo climbed up beside her, holding his scanner. They're sending out signals. Can't decode them. They're not like ours, not from Earth. She asked. Runo shook his head. No, this is something else. Something older. Lyra looked down at the camp. People were packing bags. Some were crying. Others were just sitting, waiting, like they had no energy left to care. Mina stood near the fire pit, hugging her small backpack. She was shaking. Lyra came down. Hey, it's okay. Mina looked up. That wasn't Earth, was it? The ones in the sky? No, Lyra said softly. But Earth is coming. I heard them. Will they get here first? Lyra didn't answer. She just hugged her daughter tight. That night, a strange humming sound filled the air. Low, deep, like a giant machine breathing. The black device from before, the one they found underground, started to glow again. But this time, it wasn't. Blue dot, it was red again. Runo stood over it watching, sending something. A new signal. What kind? Lyra asked. Not sure. But it's not from the ship. It's from the ground. From something near us. Lyra narrowed her eyes. How close? Less than a kilometer, Runo said. Lyra didn't wait. She gathered 4 soldiers, grabbed her rifle, and left the camp again. The ground was quiet, but the sky above them was full of motion. The stars were disappearing fast now. The shadow had almost reached orbit. The team moved through an old field, once used to grow food, now just dry grass and broken metal. Suddenly they heard it clicking, soft, fast, not human. Lyra raised her hand. Everyone stopped. The sound was coming from the left near the tree line. Then they saw it. A tall, thin shape standing perfectly still. Not a person. It had no face. No arms. Just a long, dark body with wires hanging from it, like a scarecrow made of metal. It wasn't moving, but it gave off a soft red glow, just like the device. Runo whispered, "Is that?" Tech. Lyra moved closer. The thing didn't react. But then the ground shook. Everyone turned. A second one rose from the earth. Then a third. Then more. 10, 20. All around them, no sound. Just silence and blinking lights. Back to camp. Now Lyra said they ran. Behind them. Things didn't follow. But the red glow lit the field like blood in the dark. When they returned, the black device had stopped blinking. The red glow was gone. But something had changed. Runo was pale. He had stayed behind to watch it. It spoke, he said. Spoke, Lyra asked. I heard a voice, not through speakers. In my head, Lyra stared at him. What did it say? Runo looked down and said, "You are marked." The next morning, one of the children screamed. They found a strange mark on his hand, a small black symbol, like a burn tattoo. Others had it too. 5 people. All of them had been near the device. Lyra checked her own hand. Nothing but Runo had one. She touched it. He winced in pain. It burns sometimes, he said. Feels like it's under my skin. Lyra ordered the device. Be sealed and buried. She didn't trust it. She didn't trust any of this, but it was too late. The next night, they saw something fall from the sky. A ball of fire, bright and fast. It crashed into the hills nearby. People panicked. Some said it was Earth's fleet finally arriving. Others said it was a weapon. Lyra didn't wait. She took a team and went toward the crash site. The area was hot. Trees burned. Smoke filled the air. But in the center of the blast, they found it a ship. A real human ship. Small, damaged, black. Paint burned away. But the symbol of Earth Command was still clear on the side. Lyra climbed up. The door opened with a hiss. Inside was one man, barely alive. She pulled him out with the help of 2 soldiers. His suit was torn, his face covered in blood. He looked up at her and tried to speak. Nothing came out. Lyra held him close. It's okay, you're safe. He blinked. Then finally whispered, too late. What do you mean? They know? They know Earth is coming. They're calling more. He coughed hard. It's not just ships. It's mines. They steal mines. Then he passed out. They carried him back. For the next 2 days, the camp stayed quiet. People gathered around. The crashed ship, watching it like a gift from the stars. Mina sat near the pilot. She gave him water and talked softly. The man didn't wake, but he moved. Sometimes in his sleep, would whisper strange words. Names, coordinates, numbers. Runo wrote them all down, Lyra. Sat with the council that night, a small group of old colonists who still made decisions. We have 1 scout ship, she said. That means more are close, or more are lost, someone replied. But Earth is coming, she said. Can Earth stop this? Another asked, You saw the sky, that thing up there. It's not a fleet, it's a world killer. Lyra looked at her hands. They were shaking again. She didn't have an answer. Later, she stood outside the dome watching the sky. Mina joined. Will they win? She asked. Lyra didn't speak for a long time. Then she said, They have to. Mina held her hand. I believe in Earth, she said. The black device started blinking again. But no one touched it this time. No one went near it. And far above, the dark, the shadow opened. A hole, a gate, and from it. Through, not ships, Not machines, but light, alive, hungry, and it was falling toward Cairo 7. The light came fast from the sky. At first, it looked like fire, a long, glowing trail moving straight toward the planet. But it didn't burn, it didn't crash, it just hovered. Captain Lyra stood with the others, staring up at the sky. The light was too bright to look at, but no one could turn away. It floated above Cairo 7 like a star pulled too close. It had no shape, just light, shifting, changing. Mina grabbed her mother's hand. "What is that?" Lyra didn't know. She had never seen anything like it. Runo checked his scanner. The numbers didn't make sense. "It's not a ship," he said. "Not metal, not matter, just energy. But it's thinking. It's alive. People." And the camp started to whisper. Some dropped to their knees. Some cried. Some smiled like they were dreaming. Lyra walked toward the black device they had buried. It was glowing again, red, deep, angry. The ground around it was hot, small cracks. Formed in the dirt, she turned to Runo. "Dig it up." He hesitated now. They pulled the device out. It pulsed in sync with the light in the sky. Faster, louder, then it spoke. Not through speakers, through every mind. A voice entered their heads. "You called. I came." Lyra fell to her knees, hands pressed to her ears. The sound was inside her. Brain, not words, exactly, but thoughts. Pressure. Like someone opening a door that should never be opened. Others screamed. The pilot, the one they rescued, shot up from his bed. His eyes wide, his mouth open. Blood ran from his nose. He looked at Lyra and shouted, "It's inside. You let it in." The ground shook. The light in the sky pulsed. The sound in their heads grew louder. "You burned the stars," the voice said. "You made fire in the void. You spread noise across the quiet." The black device hovered into the air, spinning slowly. "Now I will make you silent again." Lyra fired her rifle at the device. The bullet passed through it like smoke. It did nothing. Suddenly, a new sound broke through the air, a roar. Not from the ground, from space. Lyra looked up. The light in the sky was shrinking. Something else was coming through the gate. Big, dark, shaped like a blade. Runo shouted, "That's not them. That's not the light. That's a ship." Everyone turned. It came through the gate fast. Black steel, white flames, earth symbols. Burning on the hull, an earth warship. Finally, it dropped into orbit above Cairo 7 and fired a single blast of blue energy. It hit the floating light. The light screamed, not sound, but pain, felt by everyone. The black device fell to the ground. Dead, the light in the sky shook and vanished. Gone in a blink, silence returned. People stood in shock. Then the radio came alive. "This is ESS Revenant. To all survivors on Cairo 7, hold position. We see you. We are here." Lyra dropped to her knees and laughed. Mina cried and hugged her. The Revenant was here. A real Earth fleet ship. Massive. Fully armed. It's the kind of ship that could win wars. More signals followed. Landing team inbound. Medical support on standby. As hostile entities scanned and marked. Defensive systems online. Shuttles. Dropped from the Revenant. Lighting up the sky. People in the camp cheered. Some fell to the ground in joy. But the pilot, still bleeding, whispered, "No, it's not over. That was just a scout. Just one." Lyra turned to him. "What do you mean?" He looked at her, weak, tired. "The thing in the sky? It's not it. That's a finger, a touch. The full mind. It's still coming." Lyra's smile faded. The Revenant's commander sent a direct message to the camp. His voice was calm, but serious. "We've been tracking the entity for 2 years. It killed 3 colonies, sent false signals, pulled fleets off course. It's old, pre-human. We don't think it's a species. We think it's something else, a weapon, or maybe a god," Lyra replied. "How do we fight something like that?" The answer was simple. We don't. We survive it. landed a small team, 5 soldiers in heavy armor, all carrying strange-looking weapons. One of them, a woman with gray eyes and no emotion in her voice, walked up to Lyra. "You're the ranking officer?" "I am." The woman nodded. "We're setting up a perimeter. Your camp isn't safe." That device, she pointed to the black orb, is a beacon. It calls the entity. We didn't know. Now you do. The pilot tried to stand. The minds. It steals minds. Soldier turned to him. Yes. It copies thought, memory, personality. It builds ghosts. Uses them to talk, to trick, to control. Mina stepped back in fear. The soldier looked down at her. "You'll be safe now. The Revenant has psychic dampeners. It can't break through," Bruno whispered. "But it already spoke to us. We heard. It was inside." The woman stared at him, then said, "Then some of you are already not yourselves." The mood changed. People looked at each other with fear. Lyra's hand went to her sidearm. The soldier nodded. "We have scanners. We'll check everyone." He began testing the survivors one by one. A machine was placed on each person's head. Lights flashed. Green for clean. Red for infected. Out of the 72 survivors, 5 showed red. Runo was one of them. He didn't speak, didn't move, just stared. The soldier aimed her. Weapon. Lyra stepped forward. "Wait, that's Runo. He's not Runo anymore. He's still in there." The woman didn't blink. "You don't understand. This thing doesn't kill. It copies. It hides inside. It waits. When the time is right, it takes over. You won't even notice until it's too late." Lyra stepped back. The 5 infected were taken. Oh, some were crying, some just stood still. One laughed softly. Then they were gone. The camp was quiet again that night. Lyra sat alone outside her tent. She looked at the stars. They were fewer now. The shadow was coming back, and deeper in space. Something else was watching. Something old, something angry, and it now knew Earth had returned. The night was colder than usual. Captain Lyra sat near the campfire, staring at the small flames. Her hands were wrapped tightly around a hot metal cup, but the warmth didn't reach her heart. She could still hear Runo's voice in her head. It said, "You are marked, taken by Earth's soldiers," because a machine had said he was infected. Maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't, but Lyra hadn't stopped it. She had let them take him. The others in the camp stayed. Quiet that night. No one played music. No one told stories. Everyone was afraid of the same thing. What if they were next? Above them, the warship Revenant circled in orbit. Its lights blinked like distant stars. It was a beautiful machine, strong, powerful, full of human firepower. But it also felt far away, like a parent who arrives too late to stop the damage. Lyra looked up. The shadow was back. It had returned to the edge of the sky, still far, still slow. But this time it wasn't alone. Tiny dots moved around it, smaller ships or drones, something worse. They didn't fly like machines. They moved like swarms. Mina came and sat beside her. "I had a dream," she said. Lyra didn't look at her. "What kind of dream?" "The stars were falling," Mina said, "but they were screaming." Lyra placed her arm around her daughter. She didn't tell her the truth that maybe it wasn't a dream. Maybe the entity had touched her thoughts, whispered to her while she slept. The next morning, soldiers from the Revenant returned. Their leader, the Grayed Woman, spoke without emotion. "It's confirmed," she said. "That thing in orbit, it's not a fleet. It's a single mind. The ships are just pieces of it, tools, probes. It's like one massive brain spread across the stars." Lyra asked. "Then why didn't it just destroy us already?" The soldier looked away. "Because it's learning." She tapped a device. On her wrist, a hologram opened in the air, showed thousands of small ships moving in perfect lines. He scanned its pattern. It's not just traveling, it's building, collecting data, testing responses. Every time we fight it, it adapts. Lyra frowned. "So we can't hurt it?" The woman turned off the hologram. "We can. Once. Maybe twice. After that, it becomes immune. What happens then? It silences the planet." Lyra looked around at the camp. People were listening. Children, old men. Families who had survived years of silence, fire, and loss, and now this. What do we do? She asked quietly. We run. The soldier's answer was fast. We're opening a gate, a real one. We'll evacuate who we can. Move them to Earth's inner systems. Safe space. Lyra's eyes narrowed. We just got help. Now you're leaving? We're not abandoning you. But this isn't a battle we win with boots on the ground. This is something else. Something bigger. The fleet's preparing something stronger. When until then, survival is the only mission. That evening, the first evacuation ships began landing. The survivors didn't cheer. They were tired, afraid, quiet. Lyra watched the people line up. Her team helped guide them onto the transport. Mina stood by her side, holding her hand tightly. But when their names were called, Lyra shook her head. No, she said. I'm staying. Mina looked up at her. So am I. Lyra knelt beside her. You don't have to, Mina. You're just a child. Mina didn't blink. I've waited 3 years with you. I'm not leaving now. Lyra pulled her into a hug. Later, only 23 people stayed behind with her. All others' families, the sick, the elderly, were taken through the gate. The Revenant stayed in orbit, waiting. The shadow moved closer that night. Something strange happened. A small object fell from the sky. Not like the others. It didn't burn. It floated. It landed just outside the camp, gently. Like a feather. Lyra and the Gride soldier went to see it. It was a cube. Black, smooth, silent. Then it unfolded, and a face appeared. Not flesh, but bone. A face made of light and shadow. It was Erno? He smiled. Hello, the voice said. You left me behind. Lyra froze. That's not him. The voice changed, became hers. I am you, it said. Your hopes, your fears, your memories. I have tasted them, I understand. Now, then it became Mina's voice. I know what you dream. The soldier raised her weapon and fired. The cube shattered, melted into dust. But the voice remained echoing in their minds. I'm coming, and I will wear your skin. The next day, Lyra gave orders to dig trenches, set up auto turrets, power up old colony defenses. They didn't have much, but they had each other, and Earth had taught them to fight back. At sunrise, sky split open again. The war had come. The sky turned gold. At first, it looked like sunrise. But the light came from the wrong direction, not from the horizon, but from straight above. It was sharp, hot, and wrong. The clouds split apart, burned from the center. Everyone in the camp stopped what they were doing and looked up. Captain Lyra stood at the front gate, rifle in hand. The air around her crackled. She could feel it in her bones. Something was moving in orbit, something massive. The Revenant hovered. Above the planet, dark and silent now. It's not because it was broken, because it was waiting. Waiting for what? Lyra heard a voice in her ear. Shuttle inbound. Do not fire. She lowered her weapon. A ship dropped through the burning clouds. Unlike the others, it wasn't big. Not a transport. Not a fighter. It was long, slim. It's built like a spear. It landed softly just outside the camp walls. A hiss of air. The doors opened. One person stepped out. He was tall, wearing a black Earth Fleet uniform with gold trim. His face was pale, eyes dark, jaw sharp. He didn't walk like a soldier. He walked like someone with power. Lyra stepped forward. You're from the Revenant? She asked. The man nodded. I'm Commander Halric. You came alone. I don't need protection. She didn't like that answer. Halric looked at the camp. So few left. We sent the rest through the gate. He nodded again. They won't survive here. Not for what's coming. Lyra crossed her arms. You know what's coming then? I do. Halric walked into the center of the camp. Everyone followed him. He stopped near the old fire pit. Mina stood nearby, holding a piece of bread. She looked at him with wide, tired eyes. He smiled at her. Just a little, then turned back to Lyra. What you saw before the light? The voices. The cube. Those were small pieces. tools, probes. It doesn't fight with weapons. It fights with us. Lyra looked at him. You mean it turns people into puppets? No, he said. Worse, it makes copies. Real copies. From memories. From pain, from dreams. It studies what we love and uses it to destroy us. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small round disc. Placed it on the ground. A hologram rose. It showed another planet. Not Cairo-7. It looked like Earth, but it was empty. Buildings gone, oceans dry, sky black. This was New Terra, Halric said. 15 million people, gone, not killed. Just erased. Their minds taken. The bodies left behind like shadows. Empty things. Mina stepped back. Halric's voice was calm. We tried to fight. With fleets, bombs, fire. But we were always too late. It changes, learns, predicts. He turned to Lyra. But here, it made a mistake. She frowned. What mistake? It waited too long. From behind the clouds, something moved. Lyra's eyes widened. A gate opened in the sky, much bigger than before. But this time, something else came through. Not the shadow. Not the light ships. Dozens of them, Earth. Ships. Not just the Revenant. Big ones, heavy ones. Gold and silver, lined with armor and glowing engines. And each of them came in angry. They didn't wait. They fired. Blue beams hit the dark swarm above the planet. Red flashes danced across the sky. The shadow screamed, not with sound, but with heat and pressure. The ground shook. The air turned sharp. Every child in the camp covered their ears and cried. Lyra grabbed Mina and pulled her close. Halric didn't move. He just watched the battle like it was a math problem. Then he spoke again. This is Earth's final protocol. Lyra looked up. What does that mean? We call it the Omega Core. She narrowed her eyes. What is it? Halric smiled, not with joy, but with something colder. It's everything we've ever learned. Turned into one weapon. In space, a single ship separated from the rest. It looked different, smooth, round, glowing white at its center. It didn't fire any weapons. It didn't have to. It became one. A sphere of energy formed around it. It pulsed once, twice. Then it exploded without noise, into a light. It spread across the sky, like a second sun. It hit the shadow swarm, and the swarm screamed. Lyra felt the scream in her soul, all across the camp. People dropped to the ground. Some cried, some just stared. The sky looked like it was bleeding light. Then silence. Nothing moved. Even the wind stopped. The black device, the one they had buried, dug up, and feared broke into pieces. Smoke rose from its core. It was dead. Lyra stood. She turned to Halric. Did we win? Halric didn't answer. He was looking at Mina. The little girl was breathing fast. Too fast. Lyra rushed to her side. Mina. What's wrong? The girl looked up. Her eyes were glowing. White. Double quotes, Mina. Lyra asked again, shaking her. Then the voice came, not from her mouth. From everywhere. You think I was alone? Halric pulled out a weapon. Lyra screamed. Don't you dare. She's not your daughter right now, he said. Not fully. The girl spoke again, but her mouth didn't move. You used your last weapon. I used a child. Lyra stood in front of Mina, arms wide. You can't have her. The voice was cold. She heard me. She believed in me. That was all I needed. Halric lowered his weapon, but not because of mercy, because Mina's glow faded. Her breathing slowed, and she collapsed. Lyra caught her, held her close. She was warm, alive, eyes closed, sleeping. Halric scanned her. It's gone. For now. Lyra looked at him, her voice shaking. Will it come back? He paused, then said quietly, Yes. He looked up at the sky. More Earth ships landed in the distance. Fleets, bringing people, scientists, fighters, reinforcements. Earth. had returned, and this time they were staying, but far away in a place beyond stars. Something else opened its eyes. The entity had been burned, but not destroyed. It had seen Earth's power, and now the sky was calm again. No more shadows, no more fire, just the cold stars shining above Cairo 7. But the people didn't cheer. They didn't sing or dance. They just stared. They had survived, but no one felt safe. Captain Lyra sat beside Mina's bed. The girl hadn't opened her eyes since the entity touched her mind. She was breathing, heart strong. But her body felt far away, like her soul was still somewhere out there in the dark. "She's resting," the medic said quietly. Lyra didn't answer. She just held her daughter's hand. Outside, Earth soldiers were building new towers, shields, weapon systems. They had turned the old camp into a fortress in just 2 days. It looked nothing like the place it was before. It looked like a front-line commander. Halric stood near the edge of the new perimeter. Watching the sky, another soldier walked up beside him. "All ground systems ready. Fleet reports no more enemy signals." Halric nodded. "Good, but don't relax." "We won, sir." Halric looked at the man. "No, we bought time." Then he walked away. Lyra met him near the command tent. "You knew it could speak through people," she said. "Yes. And you let it speak through my daughter." "I didn't let it," Halric said. "It was already inside from the day it touched this planet." Lyra stepped closer. "Didn't you warn us?" Halric's voice stayed cold. "Because if I had told you what it really was, you would have lost hope. And hope was the only thing holding your people together." Lyra wanted to hit him. She didn't. Instead, she said, "You talk like it's still alive." Halric turned to face her. "It is." He tapped a small control pad on his wrist. Projection appeared, a wave of color across space. Blues and reds, pulsing like a heartbeat. "This is real-time psychic feedback," he said. "We tracked it before, after the Omega Core hit, we lost its signal. And now, it's moving again." Lyra frowned. "Where?" "Everywhere." That night, the stars flickered. Not like before. Not fire or shadow. Just small changes, some stars. Blinked twice. Others changed color. The scientists said it was nothing. The soldiers didn't believe them. 2 more nights passed. Then something hit. Orbit, not a ship. A body. It slammed into the shield grid with such force, the power went out for 6 seconds. When it was recovered, the soldiers dragged the remains to the lab. Lyra was called in. She entered the tent and stopped cold. It was a human, or it had been. It wore an Earth fleet suit. The body was burned and torn, bones exposed, but its face looked exactly like Halric. She turned slowly. The real Halric was standing behind her. He didn't look surprised. "We found 6 more," he said. "Different faces. All fleet. All dead. All wrong." Lyra stared at him. "It's copying you now?" "It's not copying," Halric replied. "It's becoming." He pointed to the dead body's chest. A strange mark was there. Not a wound, not a burn. A circle made of lines. "I've seen that before," Lyra whispered. "On the infected. On the black device." "Yes," Halric said. "This is its symbol, its signature, its claim." Stepped back. "Then it's not just watching. It's building something again." Halric didn't answer. He didn't have to. Outside, alarms screamed. The sky lit up. Not with a shadow, not with ships, but with hundreds of tiny lights. Falling fast, Lyra ran to the wall. Soldiers shouted and fired up the cannons. The lights weren't weapons. They were pods. Landing pods. One hit the ground. Then another. Then 10 more. The air filled with dust and thunder. The first pod opened, and something climbed out. It looked like a man. But it wasn't. Its skin was too smooth, too perfect, its eyes too white. It smiled, and it spoke with Runo's voice. "Hello again?" Lyra's heart stopped. The real Runa was gone, but this thing remembered her. She aimed her weapon, fired the bullet passed through its head. It kept smiling. Then it burst apart into smoke. More pods opened, more fake people. Some looked like soldiers. Others like colonists who had died years ago. They walked toward the walls. Slow, silent, wrong. And then the sound began. Not a scream, a whisper. From every direction. We are what you left behind. The Revenant fired from orbit. Beams hit the surface, cutting through the land like knives. But the shapes didn't die because they weren't real. They were projections. Ghosts made of memory and stolen code. Halric shouted. They're testing the defenses. Mapping our responses. This is a first strike, Lyra looked up. How do we stop something that's not real? Halric pulled something from his coat. A small black device. Round, humming. We use something more real than them. He threw it to the ground. It activated. A blue wave spread out in all directions. The fake humans vanished where it touched them, burned away like ash. For a moment, silence. Then a voice filled the camp. You used fire? I used faces. You burned. My children, now I burn yours. Every screen, every speaker, every radio, all filled with that voice. It sounded like Mina. Now Lyra's blood froze. She ran to her daughter's room. Mina was gone. Lyra ran through the camp, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. Mina, she shouted. Mina? The night was full of smoke and flashing lights. The sky above glowed with burning clouds. The fake voices still whispered through every speaker. Come. See what she's become? Soldiers moved through the shadows, searching, scanning, shouting. But the entity was clever. It used their own memories against them. It sent images of loved ones, calling from dark corners, smiling with empty eyes. Lyra ignored them all. She knew her daughter. She would know the real one. She found a trail near the edge of the west wall, small footprints in the dust. A child's. Fresh she. Followed them into the ruins, past the old mining outpost. The same place where they had found the first black device. Now, it pulsed again, but not red. Not blue. White. She heard humming, soft, like a lullaby. Lyra crept forward. Rifle raised. She turned the corner and stopped. Mina stood in the center of the ruined chamber, her eyes glowing. Her mouth half open, whispering words in a voice that wasn't hers. Around her floated small shapes, bits of light and shadow, eyes spinning like insects. They blinked with memories. Lyra saw Runo's face in one, then her own, then her dead husband. She stepped closer. Mina, it's me. The girl didn't move, but the voice responded. She's not yours anymore. Lyra didn't flinch. Yes, she is. Her go. The voice laughed, a horrible mix of every voice it had stolen. I learned from you. Humans love what they fear to lose, so I took her. Lyra dropped her rifle. She stepped into the circle. You want to understand us? She said. Then, learn this. She reached out and grabbed her daughter. The light exploded. Images slammed into her brain. Memories, thoughts, pain. The entity tried to confuse her. It showed her the dead, the burning, her failures, her fears. But Lyra held on. I'm not afraid of you, she whispered. She pulled Mina into her arms and held her tight. The light screamed. Mina's body shook. Then it went still. The light faded, the shadows vanished, and Mina blinked. Mama? Lyra held her close. You're okay. I've got you. She looked down. The mark, the black symbol on Mina's hand, was gone. The connection had been broken. She had pulled her back by force of will. By love, the entity had touched a human. Soul and lost. Back at camp, Halric watched the scanners. They're falling back. His second in command said, Not for long, Halric replied. This was just the test. He turned to Lyra as she returned, carrying Mina in her arms. You broke the link, he said. I told you, she said. She's mine. Halric gave a rare smile. We may just win this after all. That night the sky was silent. No new pods fell, no voices spoke, and for the first time, stars looked like stars again. But everyone knew it was not over. In the morning, the fleet sent a signal. The last gate was ready. A weapon, bigger than the Omega Core, buried in orbit of Earth for over 100 years. Its name was Project Leviathan, a single-use device built to kill things not of this universe. Halric gathered the remaining fighters. "This is our final move," he said. "We draw it in. We open a path. We fire Leviathan. If it works, we end it. And if it doesn't," someone asked, "then we burn together." Lyra stepped forward. "We'll hold the line." She looked at Mina. Her daughter stood strong, no longer afraid. "She showed me things," Mina said. "The entity, it's afraid too." Halric nodded. "Afraid of extinction? And us?" Lyra asked. Halric stared at the stars. "It should be." The countdown began. 6 hours until Leviathan activated. The skies stayed quiet. Too quiet. Lyra stood on the wall, rifle ready. Mina sat beside her. Looking through a scope, the people of Cairo 7 didn't run. They didn't hide. They stood, waiting, and far above, the darkness began to move again. The final battle was coming, and Earth broken, angry and unafraid, would be ready. The countdown reached 1 hour above Cairo 7. The stars disappeared again. This time, not slowly. They blinked out in rows, like lights switched off by a god. The entity was no longer hiding. It was coming. Captain Lyra stood at the front of the camp. Watching the sky, she was calm now. Not because she wasn't afraid, she was. But this fear was sharp, clean, like the kind that soldiers carry into final battle. Mina stood beside her in full gear. Her small hands held a scanner, not a weapon. But Lyra knew her daughter had already fought harder than most grown warriors ever would. Far above, in orbit, Project Leviathan powered up. From Earth's warship Revenant, Commander Halric watched. The readings: the gate was open. The weapon was ready. But something was wrong, sir, the technician said. Eyes wide. "It's not moving the way we expected." Halric leaned over the screen. The entity wasn't entering the trap. It was surrounding it. The entity had learned. Across the planet, the shadows came first. No ships, no beams, just silence. Then came the shapes. Figures, thousands of them, not made. Of flesh, but of thought, memory, mist that walked like men. And they knew every human they faced. Lyra squad, open fire. Bullets ripped through empty copies. Some looked like dead colonists. Some looked like family. Lyra fired without stopping. She didn't care what faces it wore. She only cared that Earth would not kneel. The sky cracked above. Leviathan was losing its lock. The entity was bending space around it, trying to crush it like paper. In the command deck, Halric made a decision. "Manual override," he said. "Sir?" the officer asked. "If we wait any longer, we lose it. But Leviathan's not fully charged. Launch it anyway." The code was entered. A warning flashed red. "Do not activate under 97%. Systems unstable." Halric didn't care. He hit the button. In orbit, the Leviathan woke. A massive sphere, the size of a city, built not to kill ships, but to destroy minds. Inside it was a star. A small living star. And around that star was wrapped a cage of black metal pulled from a dead system no human had ever claimed. The weapon didn't explode. It unfolded, and from it came silence. Real silence. No thoughts, no fear, no whispers. On Cairo 7, Lyra looked up and saw the stars return. Just for a second, the ghosts vanished. The fog cleared and the sky began to scream. But only the enemy could hear it, because Leviathan's real weapon wasn't fire, it was forgetting. The entity tried to run it. Twisted space, created echoes, pulled time around itself, but it was too late. The star inside Leviathan collapsed, and with it, so did the entity's memory. All the things it had stolen, the voices, the faces, the pain, were erased. One by one. The fake soldiers fell. The ships above the planet stopped moving. then turned to dust, and the sky was clear again, back on the surface. Mina fell to her knees. Her scanner beeped once, then went quiet. "Is it over?" she asked. Lyra dropped to her knees beside her and held her. "Yes," she whispered. "It's gone." Alric sent a message to the camp. "The mind is broken. Its network is silent." Leviathan succeeded. There were no cheers, just deep, tired breaths. And the sound of humans standing up after years of crawling. 3 days passed. The sky remained calm. The war was over. Earth began moving. Survivors off-world. Some chose to leave, but others, like Lyra and Mina, chose to stay, to rebuild. The camp was no longer just a shelter. It became something more. A symbol. Proof that humanity did not break. That even when something beyond reason, beyond space, beyond hope had come, Earth stood tall and fought back. One evening, Lyra sat on the same broken dome where she once watched the first shadow fall. Mina sat beside her, drawing stars in the dirt. Lyra smiled. "What are those?" "New constellations," Mina said. "For what?" "For what we survived." She looked at her mother. "And for what we became." Lyra looked up at the stars. They were still there, brighter than ever. She didn't know what else was waiting out in the galaxy. She didn't care, because now the stars knew, when Earth comes, you don't fight humanity, you fight all of it. And even fear itself will run.